Labour Forum on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Like you're already aware, Labour Forum is created as a platform for labor leaders, industrial relations practitioners, and those who are interested in the welfare of workers to have a platform to express their views with a view to influencing government policies that will affect the welfare positively of workers. Today, we are lucky to have the national president of Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities with us. After the opening ceremonies, we'll introduce him formally on the program. You are welcome to this edition of Labour Forum on Citizen Radio 93.7 FM Abuja. You're welcome.
Without a brain and muscle, not a single wheel can turn. We can bring their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn. And the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
Like I told you earlier, my guest this afternoon is the national president of Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU. He is Comrade Muhammad Ibrahim. Comrade President, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes. When you talk of universities, people know of ASU. Could you please, in a nutshell, introduce your union to us and what the component of your membership in the universities?
Well, thank you very much, Comrade Tony, and it's a pleasure being here. And let me first of all also commend you for the good works that you've been doing in enlightening Nigerians and especially our workforce. This is a wonderful job, and we will continue to urge you to continue to do this. By way of proper introduction, I am Comrade Muhammad Haruna Ibrahim, FNIPR, the national president of SANU, as you said, and SANU stands for Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities. But I also double as the national internal auditor of the Nigeria Labour Congress here in Abuja at the headquarters. SANU, as the name connotes, is a platform and a voice for all senior non-teaching workers in our public universities, professional and administrative staff, from those on level 6 of what we call the Consolidated Tertiary Institution Salary Scale, CONTIS, to up to the ranks of the registrars, bossers, directors of fiscal planning, directors of works, all other non-teaching directors that work in the university. We are populated by professionals of different callings. Within SANU, you have administrators, you have architects, you have engineers, you have medical doctors, you have nurses, you have planners, you have sports administrators, you have even those teaching in our staff schools, demonstration schools within the universities, and including security officers of our universities. So it's a melting pot that encompasses and accommodates all sorts of workers in the university who are not lecturers, but are oiling the engine of running the university, without whom naturally universities cannot operate. This is what we are made up of.
Okay, Mr. President. What is your relationship with, I know there are other unions in the university system like NASU and all that, but what is your relationship with ASU?
Well, like you mentioned, characteristically and what is known to the public is that we have 4 university-based unions: ASU, SANU, NASU, and NAD. And of late, there were attempts to, get some other unions who are not fully recognized, like NAMDA and Konwa, but those ones are not fully, integrated within the system. Now, of the 4 university-based unions, only one is populated by the academics, that is ASU, which you just mentioned. And then all the other 3 are the professional and non-teaching, unions. Now, ASU, as the name connotes, which you defined, it's a union of intellectuals. There's no doubt about that. And that we do not see ourselves as people who are competing, but rather complementing each other within the system. For your information and for the information of our listeners, universities are citadels of learning, and their core mandates is basically 3: teaching, research, and community service. Teaching as in lecturing, imparting knowledge on students. Research as in discoveries, investigations that is done by both the teaching and the non-teaching staff. And of course, community service as it relates to administration, and also what those universities extend to their own communities that is housing them. It's a common knowledge that most of the universities, normally are sited way outside townships. Normally, they are sited within rural areas or communities that do not necessarily have some of these metropolitan services of water, electricity, healthcare, and so on. So when universities are sited or established, that university does not live as an island, but rather it also extends its own hands of fellowship and services to those community workers within that precincts, around that community. We allow them to access our healthcare facilities. We also allow them to bring in their children at the level of the staff primary school and then staff demonstration secondary schools. So these are the fringe benefits they also get. And of course, they also get potable water for drinking and other uses. So ASU is populated by the academics. They teach, they do researches, but we administer the university. We are the first point of call and the last point of call. We appoint the academics. The registrar is the one that signs appointment letter for every staff of the university. And then he also is the one that signs their promotions, their termination, their punishments. He rewards them on behalf of council, because the university has like 3 strata of administration. There's the governing council, then there's principal officers, then you have the management of the university. And of course, we have Senate, which is, clearly for, keeping and putting standards in terms of academic excellence, and also the award of degrees and other certificates.
It's all right, Presto. You have really touched in the heart of, the makeup of your union. But I know that at the heart of the problem in the university system is the irregular payment or delayed payment of salaries. What is the situation today?
Well, you have also hit the nail on the head. Until much recently, maybe in the last 5-10 years, in the last decade, salaries have not been an issue in the universities in terms of payments as are when due, because universities used to get their allocations quarterly through the National Universities Commission. So they give you what you spend for 3 months, including your salaries, allowances, and other overheads. But when federal government was probably not guided properly or misadvised, they decided to now remove that system and then return universities or put universities or treat them like the regular MDAs, where allocations are made monthly, and salaries were later centralized, and we were all bungled and put under the office of the Accountant General where we are paid through the IPPIS until also in the last 2 months. We will just payroll and then send to Abuja from Otuoke, from Maiduguri, from Lagos, from Calabar, from every part of Nigeria. You send in your, submission to the IPPIS office in Abuja, and they pay what they want. They just do what they want. If there is an error, you have to come to Abuja to rectify it. And because the university is a peculiar environment, there are things that are not found in other places, such as ministries. So allowances of staff also is based on what you do as a staff. If you go for field trip, you are entitled to field trip allowance. If you do overtime, you get overtime allowance. If you do certain extra jobs, like teaching more number of students, you have also what is called excess workload, in terms of even putting much more hours in the office by administrators. So those things are not known to the regular civil service. And by the time we were not lumped to Abuja to be paid, all those allowances were yanked off. And then we became poorer, and we started receiving mutilated salaries. And that was why you could have heard about agitations about ASU, SANU, NASU protesting that we should not be paid through IPPIS. And we fought that battle for almost 5 years or so before finally, when President Tinubu came and accented to our demand of removing us from IPPIS. But we didn't even know that we were living from frying pan to fire because immediately we left IPPIS, they took us back to GiveMis. That platform is a platform where universities will be sent their money and they will be the ones to do the payment. But sending the money is entirely different from having access to it. You will see the money on the system, but you will not be able to access it until somebody enables you somewhere, somebody authorizes you somewhere. And then they decided to punish us probably for fighting IPPIS, because as I'm talking to you, there are so many members of staff working in the universities, in some universities, that have not received their January salary because they decided to do this envelope, system of, allocation. University of Calabar, University of Maiduguri, and so many other universities, I can confirm to you, got less than 80% of what they are supposed to get in terms of personnel cost. So the universities are now left with either to pay percentages, for salaries in percentages, or yank off other allowances or statutory deductions from the members of staff. So we have really landed into a bigger trouble, bigger wahala.
So what, in that case, what is the way forward now?
The way forward is that they have just put union leaders on a high jump again, because we have been talking, we have been calling the attention of government, and thankfully we have a Minister of Education now that is a listening person. But we also realize that it's not within his purview, because it is all about Ministry of Finance and the Accountant General's office. The same office that had been giving us problem before is now back again. So we will, it's a new challenge that I said started just some 2 months ago, and we are facing it headlong, and we are not finding it funny. For SANU, for example, I can tell you, by next week, we will all assemble in Federal University of Otuoke in Bayelsa, where we will have our National Executive Council meeting. These are issues that we will table and discuss. And at the end of the meeting, we'll be able to come up with a communique to decide on what to do next.
Very well. Before we go on a short break, it is being proposed that TED Fund will be scrapped by the year 2030. What has TED Fund be a blessing to the university system? I want your comment on that before we go on a short break.
Well, for anyone who touted the idea of scrapping TED Fund, I think that person is a sadist, with all due respect. He's also not nationalistic or patriotic. just take a visit to any of our public universities, whether they are state-owned or federally owned. I can assure you, the most conspicuous buildings, structures that you see the ones, you see them, they are the ones that are inscribed with TED Fund projects. TED Fund 2005, TED Fund 2010, TED Fund 2013. So just assuming, or you just assume that you close your eyes and all these structures are removed, what will be left of the universities?
Terrible.
Government is not even giving overheads. Even the capital, they give, you could hear from different quarters that MDAs and other institutions of government only assess 30 to 35% of the budget every year at the end in December. So as for overheads, I can tell you without fear of any contradiction, there is no public university today that has enough money to pay its electricity bill. And this has given rise to a lot of stagnation, retardation, and strangulation of the system. ABU Zaria last year, I think, had cause to stay for about 2 months without electricity. University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, these are all universities that had suffered months and months of blackout because they could not pay. University of Benin, at a point in time, their electricity bill jumped from about 5 million or so to about 30-something million naira. Where will they get the money? And then to even put salt upon the injury, you hear the Senate and the House of Reps now asking universities to start remitting IGR, that the monies they collect, they should remit it to government. When we tell them that, look, universities do not generate IGR. Universities charge for services. Whatever they collect money for, they must give the service for it. If it is ID card fees they collect from students, they must issue ID card. If it is hostel maintenance, they must maintain hostel. If it is health care, service charge, they must, buy drugs and put in the clinic and so on. So TED Fund is the live wire of our institutions as it stands today. And removing it or scrapping it will only spell doom for the university system and other tertiary institutions in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you for that view. We'll go on a short break. We'll be back shortly. You are still listening to Labour Forum on 93.7 FM Abuja. Now we go for the Labour tidbits.
Congress has proposed a universal wage system and universal conditions of service for workers all over the globe. President of NLC, Comrade Joe Ajaero, made the call at the tripartite panel on Global Coalition for Social Justice at the UN House, organized as part of activities to welcome Director General of ILO, Gilbert Hembo, who was on a working visit to Nigeria. Ajaero noted that the 70,000 naira approved national minimum wage, which many states were finding difficult to implement, has been messed up by many taxes and increment in tariffs even before workers in Nigeria has begun to assess it. He noted the importance to have a universal condition of service, a framework or benchmark for countries of the world to key in. Nigerian Labour Congress has declared an indefinite strike to protest against the planned resumption of sacked All Progressive Congress Council executives who were reinstated by a Court of Appeal verdict. Court of Appeal ruling paved the way for APC-backed councils officials to reclaim leadership across local government areas in the state. However, Governor Ademola Adeleke has vowed to resist their reinstatement. Amid the growing political tensions, the NLC issued a memo on Sunday signed by the chairman, Comrade Christopher Aripopo, titled "The Safety of Our Members is Non-Negotiable." The directive urged workers to stay away from council offices, citing concerns over their security. The memo stated that the NLC had observed rising agitations unfair among its members working in local government areas across Osun. Similarly, the leadership of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employers, Comrade Natari Ogunlewe, also agreed with the stance of NLC. Oyo State chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress shut down operations at the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company on Tuesday, protesting the recent dismissal of over 3,000 employers, led by Chairman Kayode Martins, NLC. NLC members have blocked the entrance to the IBEDC's office, disrupting traffic in the challenge the double area of Ibadan. The protesters chanting solidarity songs or call for immediate reinstatement of the fired workers and the payment of national minimum wage. And Martins condemned IBEDC's actions, accusing outsourcing agent of exploiting workers through unpaid wages and unjustified salary deductions. The union further raised concerns over unpaid minimum wages and explorations of staff by outsourcing companies. The NLC presented a list of 7 demands to IBEDC's management, including the implementation of the new minimum wage, regularization of outsourced staff, provision of healthcare services, and payment of a standing allowance. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps on Sunday warned the Nigerian Labour Congress against its planned March 1st shutdown of telecommunications services in response to the recent 50% tariff hike. The Private Telecommunications and Communications Senior Staff Association of Nigeria and the Association of Telecommunication Companies of Nigeria similarly pushed back against the NLC's planned boycott of telecom services and shutdown of telecom infrastructure, arguing that such actions are misguided and could harm the industry. The spokesman for NSCDC, Babawale Afolabi, in a chat with newsmen on Sunday, said the agency had deployed operative to the base stations to prevent any illegal actions by protesters. The NSCDC tasked with protecting critical national infrastructure, including telecommunications, expressed concerns over the potential risk the NLC action could pose to national security and public safety. The NLC announced its intention to shut down the operations of telecommunications companies across the country if the tariff hike announced by the Nigerian Communications Commission was not reversed by the end of February.
Well, thank you for staying tuned to the program Labour Forum on Citizen 93.7 FM Abuja. Do not forget to join us on live streaming on Citizen FM 93.7 Labour Forum. You can also listen to us online on www.citizenfm Nigeria or follow us on any of our social media platforms. Plan to be interactive, so you could call us on any of our lines on 0903 222 9797. I repeat, 090 322 29797. We look forward to your calls so that we make this program interactive. Comrade, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Issue of university autonomy comes up once in a while. What is the position of SANU as it concerns, or just educate us? If we talk of university autonomy, what do we really mean, and how does it benefit the university community?
Well, thanks for this opportunity once again. As you may have known, universities are a product of the law. They are a creation of the law. Each university has its own law, created and as established, passed by the assemblies, the parliamentary body, the legislative arm of government. whether it is at the level of the states or at the federal. And therefore, the laws establishing each university prescribes how it operates. Now, to the issue of autonomy. Autonomy, the struggle for university autonomy is a product of what the unions did, and it culminated in 2009 by signing an agreement, with the federal government then, under Goodluck Jonathan. And what the autonomy encapsulates, or what it stands for, is to allow universities to operate without much interference, or if possible, non-interference from, those offices of government that will naturally would like to interfere in terms of governance. So the university, like I mentioned, has what is called governing councils. Now, ahead of the governing council is the visitor. The visitor is the president of the country, if it is for federal universities, while at the level of the states, the governors are the visitors of such universities. Then, of course, you have the council, and the council is made up of the pro-chancellor, who is the chairman of council, naturally appointed by the visitor. Then you have 4 other external council members, and these are people of note. In the case of the federal universities, the Minister of Education, makes recommendation on behalf of the visitor, and government approves them. So once it is approved, you realize that they normally get educationists, politicians, in some cases, community leaders, as the ones appointed. So in total, you will have 5 external council members, including the chairman. And then, of course, you also have the representative of the Federal Ministry of Education. Now, if you go to the state side, you have something similar. You have the chairman of council, and then the external council members, and then representatives of the ministries of education. In some cases, in some states, the law allows that they also have the Attorney General of the state. Then you have the internal council members. Internal council members are elected to represent different constituencies within the university. Senate being the regulatory body, awarding degrees, setting standards, for teaching, and then academic activities, has 4 representation. They are normally elected on the floor of Senate. Then you have 2 other members of council who are elected from the congregation. Now, congregation is the platform where you have every member of staff, teaching and non-teaching, who has at least, or who have at least a first degree. So anybody without a degree does not belong and cannot attend the congregation platform. So under that platform, you have 2 people also elected. Then, of course, you also have, in some cases, bigger universities, they have representative of the alumni, and then other interested bodies. Now, this is the council. The council is the highest policy-making body in every university. It approves appointments, it approves promotions, it approves termination, dismissal, and punishments. It also is in charge of contract awards, and also the expenditure of how the university money is being expended. Now, after the pro-chancellor and council, you have the vice-chancellor. The vice-chancellor is the chief executive officer and the accounting officer of every university. That one is appointed by the council. So that's why the question of the autonomy comes in. Hitherto, the council will do interview, and then they will submit 3 names to the visitor to select one. But when the autonomy took effect, council now decides who to appoint. There is a selection board, there is a a committee that will be put in place to interview, applicants.
Yes.
And once they finish the interview, they now select and recommend 3 to the council, the bigger council. Then the council chairman, in conjunction with his colleagues, now appoints 1, and then just send the name for noting to the visitor.
Okay.
That is why the autonomy. But before now, it was the 3 names that will be sent, and then the visitor is now at liberty to choose either number 3 or number 2 or number 1.
Okay. So what you are saying now is that the autonomy is a better arrangement.
It's a better arrangement.
Good. Of recent, the current administration of Bola Tinubu came up with the issue of students' loan scheme. How you are an insider in the university system, is this a good move?
Well, I have had the privilege of attending the meetings of NELFON, that's the National Education Education Fund, until recently also. The Nigeria Labour Congress had a slot to sit in the board until when they surreptitiously maneuvered to remove the Nigeria Labour Congress from the board, because we went there and we were asking questions.
Yes.
And they were not comfortable. So they went behind the door and then changed the law and then removed, NLC from the board. So until I left, and from what we have seen on the laws established, it's not totally a bad idea. But what Nigerians want is not actually the issue of giving people loans. What Nigerians want is better life. What Nigerians want is a better economy. What they want, security of jobs. What they want, security of lives. If the economy is buoyant and workers are paid handsomely and the security and life of Nigerians is fine, who will go and look for a loan? If you pay better wages, if you pay living wages, if you make sure that work environment for workers, whether it is at the level of the local governments or the states or even in the private sector, or federal government, if everything is going on well, nobody will want to go and mortgage his life to take loan and to come and be paying so many years later. However, that is not the question now. You're asking how do we see this? Yes, it's a good idea if it will be, truthfully done, if it will be transparently operated, if the son of nobody like me and you will have the opportunity to access those loans, and if there are no maneuver or manipulations by people who will now say that I will only give to my children or to my cousins or to my tribe people or my church people or my mosque people. These are some of the plagues that, retard developments in Nigeria. So this is our position.
It's all right.
It can be done better.
It's all right.
Yes.
The issue of this Japa syndrome, and I'm sure you know what I mean by Japa syndrome.
Yeah.
Does it affect your members in the universities?
Japa syndrome affects every Nigerian, every category of Nigerians. But if you're asking me whether it affects SANU members, I can tell you yes.
Okay.
And we have clear cases where our workers, because of their inability to meet domestic demands. Because, in Nigeria and generally in Africa, this extended family system, you are not working for yourself alone. What you get now, you eat, you pay school fees, you pay rent, you take care of health for yourself, your wife and children, and then your auntie, your uncle, your neighbor, your father, your great-grandfather who is alive, everybody is looking up to that. So because our people have this tradition of, I cannot see my people suffering and I'll leave them. They want to go out to get more money. We have these experiences all over, especially our members who are in the medical sector. I told you, Sanu, we have nurses, we have doctors, we have other professionals. Yes. So we have seen this happening among our colleagues who are in the medical line, because so many of them, I can't even give you numbers as it stands today, people who have, absconded and jackpot to America, to Australia, to Canada, and other places, just in search of greener pasture, not because they really want to leave, but because they feel that they can get more money and they can help their people in a bigger form when they leave.
It's all right. We are aware that in the university system, lecturers are allowed to retire at 65 and the professors at 70. Does this apply to your members?
Yes, this is also a product of the 2009 agreement. Our members now retire at the age of 65, just like every other staff except professors who now gets up to 70. But that's the position we have today as it stands.
Okay. A trade union is a democratic organization, and there's no doubt that you have both male and female members.
Yes.
So when we talk of gender equality, how is it in your union?
Well, if you ask me, I would rather reframe it to say gender equity.
Okay.
Gender equity meaning giving equal platform for everybody.
Yes.
Equality is subjective. When you say equality, how can it be equal? It will largely be difficult to have something equal.
Equity.
But equity is when you are making sure that nobody is shortchanged. SANU is one of the most gender-friendly unions, because even in our organization, in the chart, what we have in each branch, we have the women committee, and it is led by the branch women leader. And the branch women leader is a member of the branch executive council. The same thing at the level of the zones. We have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So in each zone, we have a zonal woman leader who also have her own people. Then at the national level, we have the national women coordinator, who also sits at the highest level of governance alongside other male counterparts. The National Administrative Committee, which I chair. So we also allow them to do their programs, quarterly, some biannually, some annually. At the level of the national, for example, we have annual National Women Conference, which we do every year in either August or October, depending on when it is approved. So we give them the platform, and they do a lot in conscientizing and also educating their women folk in terms of healthcare needs, in terms of trade and entrepreneurship. This we make sure we sponsor all their programs. So SANU is a very, very gender-friendly union where there is serious balancing in terms of equity for access to.
Yes, I'm happy to hear that, because as a trade union, we have to show the way. Before we leave, maybe you have some messages for your members, or generally you want to address issue that is of interest to your members, very in a very short form.
Well, I will definitely have something to say, but let me, before talking to my members, thank you most profusely for doing this great job. I did that in the opening, and yes, I will not fail to do it again.
I'm grateful, because
this is an opportunity for us to reach out to Nigerians.
Yes.
For SANU members, we want to thank them, especially from my own office as the president. I've just been re-elected for my second term.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And it was a landslide victory, because the closest person to me, I had a difference of about 800 votes.
That's landslide.
Landslide. So this has shown clearly the confidence our members have in me and my leadership. So, and in the last 4 years, we have been trying to, we have achieved modest, we have recorded modest achievements by ensuring that, first of all, we have given the union a voice and an identity. Because like you said in the beginning, people know only ASU mostly. When you say universities, they say ASU. And I know that I've been to media houses where if we have interview, they will say, when was this union registered? Are you the first president? Exactly. And I've told them severally that, look, I am about the 6th president also. So we have been around. But in the last 4 years, we have given an identity to this union. We have made our programs known, and we have reached out to government offices that have hitherto, treated us badly, because everything about the university they will say is academics, and we have suffered some injuries previously, where government will approve some allowances, and at the level of sharing to workers, they will now say 80% for teaching, 20% for non-teaching, and we have fought that, and we hope that this will not continue. And I want to urge my members to continue to support the leadership from the level of the branches to the zone and the national, and we will make sure that we will continue to struggle and fight for our freedom as workers in the universities, and then as workers in Nigeria. We are an affiliate of the NLC. NLC is doing a wonderful job by ensuring that workers' voices are not stifled. Today, without the labor unions, I wonder what would have remained in this country. Probably would have been lined up and everybody would be receiving 6 strokes of cane every morning. But the presence of NLC and other labor unions have been able to shield us from this. And we want to encourage everybody to continue to support activism, unionism, and the struggle for the emancipation of Nigerian workers and Nigerian masses generally.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. But one last thing. Do you think we need more universities with this continuous registration of new universities and all that? Just one word.
SANU as a union frowns at this multiplication of universities. As Nigeria as a country, we have over 220 or 250, whatever figure they want to give you as population. So they want to tell you that we don't even have enough universities. Yes, we don't have. But the universities we have today are not fully funded.
Exactly.
And therefore, creating more is not the solution. Fund the ones that are existing, and then let's see if the capacity cannot contain. Then we talk about establishing others. But today, we are not in support of establishing more universities, but funding them appropriately and adequately. That's the position of SANU.
Thank you very much. I think on that note, we have come to the end of this episode of Labor Forum. I must thank you, Comrade Mohammed Ibrahim, the newly popularly re-elected president of Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities. We thank you for your time.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, members, that's our program for this week. Until we come your way again next week, I am Anthony Ogagmo, the anchor of your program, Labor Forum. Bye for now.